What's going on, Legends? My name is Valued, and today we're going to be ranking every weapon in Apex Legends S tier to C tier. Now, to introduce myself a bit, I was an Apex Predator in Season 3 and Season 5, and since then, I've been Masters every season. And with my experience, I have a ton of tips and tricks to share with all of you guys hoping to climb the ranked ladders. With that out of the way, we have a lot of weapons to cover, so let's get right into it. With so many weapon choices available to the players, the options can feel overwhelming. Don't fret though, as there truly aren't that many bad options in the game. With RNG playing a big factor early game with the loot you receive, learning every weapon is still going to be the ultimate tool for being as prepared as you can for any situation. Obviously, some weapons are better than others, but every gun in the game is usable. This was made even truer with the shotgun changes, along with the quick nerf of the bow check right after its release. To start off the tier list, we're going to start with our S tier. The weapons in this category are the R301, Flatline, Spitfire, Wingman, Volt, Bowcheck, Prowler, Kraber, and Charge Rifle. Now, it may sound like a lot, these weapons truly belong in the S tier as some of the most amazing guns in the game. Wasting no time, we're gonna hop right in with the R301 Carbine. With its high fire rate, amazing accuracy, and solid damage, this gun has the edge in almost every single fight. The Anvil receiver hop-up also allows it to put a lot of damage down in long-range gunfights when combined with a 3x or 2x H-Club. This gun has an answer for every scenario and is the most consistent gun they've ever released. Next up on the list, we have its heavy counterpart, the Flatline. One of the few guns that can out DPS an R99 in combat. Even with its hard to control recoil, this gun shines in a multitude of situations. You can toss the Anvil receiver on it to chunk damage at medium to long range. And with its accurate hipfire and high damage, it's very deadly at close range. Continuing with our heavy theme, we have the Spitfire. This gun is easy to explain why it's in the S tier. Huge magazine, strong damage, great attachments, and it's good at every range. The magazine size will change from 55 to 50 for purple and gold mags, but we doubt you're going to notice that after firing this weapon for 15 seconds straight. Finishing up our heavy weapons, we have the Wingman. This gun is the definition of a skill gap gun. With its recent magazine size increase and a headshot damage buff, it is incredible this season. Grab yourself a heavy mag and have fun playing Apex like it's an aim trainer. There's not really much more to say about the Wingman than that. The Volt SMG remains king of the ground loot SMGs this season, with its great damage, the least amount of bullet drop, and easy to control recoil. This gun should be in your inventory anytime you can afford to run it. Just be aware it can be tough to find energy ammo sometimes. Moving on, we have our Rookie of the Season award, and that goes to the Bowcheck. Upon its release this season, it was definitely OP, but after its nerf, it still remains a silent killer. Now, it does have a learning curve for sure with its unique playstyle and overall build, but we're confident once you get the hang of it, you're gonna see why this weapon is so highly praised by all the pros. With the changes to the care package drops, the Prowler now drops mostly in the late game. You won't find any guns that are going to touch the DPS of this SMG. The burst mode vaporizes shields and health, where the automatic mode gives you an LMG-sized clip to rain down the pain. With all those factors in mind, there's no question this gun belongs in our S tier. Next up, we have the king of the snipers, the Kraber. With its one-shot shield breaks and one-shot kill potential, this gun has been at the top of the game since its release. There's not much more to say except for anytime you see a Kraber, if you're confident in your aim, you should be picking this up every single time. And as the last weapon in our S tier, there's no surprise here, we have the Charge Rifle. Being the only hit scan weapon in the game, this long-range laser is the go-to sniper for doing damage at range. With its consistent damage, any accurate player will find free knocks and shield breaks with this bad boy. The only downside is that it consumes 2 ammo a shot, but you can work around that easily. Moving into our A tier, we have the Havoc, Devotion, Alternator, R99, 3030 Repeater, Scout, Sentinel, Triple Take, Peacekeeper, and EVA 8. When you see these weapons, oftentimes you're going to be upgrading from your first or second weapon you found. These guns with the right attachments are going to carry you and your squad to victory. Kicking things off strong, we have the Havoc. With its recoil change making it easier to control, this gun does a ton of damage. Without the turbocharger, this gun still dominates close to medium range engagements without much hassle. However, with a turbocharger, this gun is easily an S tier weapon. Now, I have a warning about the Devotion. It's a very tough weapon to use, especially without a turbocharger. So if you're not comfortable with it, maybe considering heading to the firing range or just getting some practice on the weapon in game. Once you do get the hang of it though, the Devo is very respectable even without a turbocharger and does devastating damage once it gets going. If you get this gun fully geared with attachments, it is absolutely crazy. A large magazine coupled with its damage can easily knock more than one member of the squad before you even have to reload. However, the windup without the turbo as well as the iron sight keep it out of our S tier. Next up, we have some SMGs. First off is the gun pictured next to the word consistent in the dictionary. It's the Alternator. With its slower fire rate, good damage, and easy to control recoil pattern, this little thing comes out on top in many fights. Swapping from ADS to hip firing is very easy to control, so it handles close range engagements with ease. Overall, it's a very well-rounded SMG. Moving on, we have the harder to use version of the Alternator, the R99, and it's found itself in our A tier. Being one of the highest DPS weapons in the game, this close-range assassin is a favorite of many players. When you find this gun, the first thing you're going to want to find along with it is a light magazine, because this gun empties its clip very quickly, so it leaves little room for error when aim is concerned. If you're hitting your shots though, bodies will drop. This gun's fire rate allows for you to get in and out fast while dealing loads of damage. Its recoil really hurts its range, which is the only thing keeping it out of the next tier. Plus, it can be tough to use if you're not confident with it, so if you do want to use this weapon, make sure you practice in the firing range. Moving on, we have the Marksman class, and every weapon except for one has found itself in our A tier. Starting off, we have the 30-30 repeater. With its new damage buff and strafe speed increase, we're loving the feel of this gun a lot more. Up close, its projectile speed allows it to feel almost hit scan, and at range with a good sight, it bursts fantastic damage. Add on top of that the shatter caps, and you can turn this gun into a shotgun. All in all, the changes made this season were great for the weapon, that's for sure. Now following that up, we have the G7 Scout. And we at ProGuides have been a huge fan of the G7 Scout for a while now, and it has a great feel to it. With its great rate of fire, good attachment options, and great magazine size, this weapon has to be high on our list. Keep in mind though, getting a sight on this thing is super important because the iron sight is just horrible. But once you do get a sight, this gun dominates the medium to long range space in fire rate and consistently. Plus, it's shockingly painful when hip firing. And speaking of a weapon that's great at long range, let's move on to the Sentinel. With many people calling this the budget Kraber, this sniper packs a punch. Using its disruptor ability gives it the ability to break enemy shields, but will also consume some shield. So we wouldn't recommend using this unless you have a ton of shield cells to spare. Any sniper scope coupled with good aim will let you control the long range better than almost any other weapon. It can be difficult to use, which is why we put it in this tier, but if you have great aim with this thing, it's definitely an S tier weapon. Up next, we have the newest addition to the care package, the triple take. Now, the triple take is still very strong, but can be a little bit underwhelming. It definitely doesn't feel as OP as it did before, which is a good thing. But since it isn't as strong as it was, we definitely recommend swapping out for any other marksman rifle over it, but not by a large amount. Rounding out our A tier, we have the Peacekeeper and EVA 8. These are amazing secondaries to any weapon. Any accurate player is going to find both options devastating in close quarters, with the PK packing more top-end damage and the EVA 8 having a larger magazine and higher fire rate. Adding a bolt to either of these weapons is going to give you a definite advantage up close. This next group of weapons can be very strong, but they're all outclassed by their S tier and A tier counterparts. This group of weapons is the RE45, Hemlock, L-Star, Longbow, and Mastiff, and they make up our B tier. Starting off with the only auto pistol in the bunch, we have the RE45, and this thing packs a big punch in a small package. With its quick draw hop up, you will be prepared for any close range surprises. Find yourself a few attachments and this weapon can impress you. With a light mag and barrel stabilizer, you're going to find this gun to look like a mini R99. Overall, this machine pistol is an off-spawn king, but it does start to struggle when your opponents get high-level Evo shields. Going on to our first assault rifle on the list, we have the Hemlock. With a good sight, it can be a medium-range killer. Whether you prefer it in burst mode or single fire, this gun feels great when aiming down sights. Unfortunately for this gun, that's where it stops. When this gun got its hipfire accuracy cut, it kneecapped it. It went from being too strong up close to practically unusable. If they gave this gun a decent hipfire, this gray AR would see a jump to A tier easily. We love this gun, but with its recent changes, we've found ourselves wanting any of the other ARs above it on this list. Next up, we have our first energy weapon, the L-Star. And whether you love it or hate it, everyone can agree its iron sights and muzzle flash make it a hard weapon to use. What it lacks in visual clearance, it makes up for in damage and fire rate. And if you keep the overheating under control, you're going to find the lack of reload lets this weapon shine, especially off spawn. It does struggle medium to long range without a good sight, but up close, it does work. Just make sure you have enough ammo though, because it eats through energy ammo. Next up, we have a weapon that doesn't consume ammo at a rapid rate and excels at long range, and we're talking about the Longbow DMR. When the Skull Piercer was vaulted at the start of Season 9, we got a headshot buff to the Wingman and Longbow. Being at the bottom of the damage category has never looked so good. Truly, this weapon's fire rate, damage output, and bullet speed are fantastic. What we can knock though is the fact that the entire sniper category is filled with better choices than the Longbow. There's truly no reason statistically to run the Longbow, especially with the options including the Sentinel and the Charge Rifle. However, if you find a bunch of sniper attachments, you can toss it on this and use it as a placeholder. Last but definitely not least for this tier is the Mastiff. We struggle between A and B tier for the shotgun because it's very strong and boasts a good magazine size and fire rate off pickup. We decided on B tier because with the EVA 8 being as good as it is and the PK doing more damage than the Mastiff, it falls under a preference pick. The Mastiff also has a horizontal spread, which does hurt its range in comparison. Overall though, every weapon in this tier has the ability to carry you through the early to mid game. And to round out the list, we're moving on to our C tier weapons. These are going to include the Mozambique and the P2020. Starting off this list is going to be the Mozambique. Now, it saw some rather large changes this season that we really liked. It received a magazine size increase from 4 to 6 shots, as well as getting a tighter spread, allowing it to function more like a shotgun. Unfortunately, its strongest feature was taken away: hammer points. We love this weapon early game, however, with all the other shotguns being on the ground, you definitely want to be on the lookout for a stronger swap. Next up, we have the other weapon that lost hammer points in Season 9, the P2020. This pistol got a damage buff, but a fire rate reduction. Overall, this weapon may have its place in the arena mode, but besides a quick pickup off spawn in the BR mode, we don't see this weapon being a good choice for combat. Without hammer points and how common the other light weapons are, this weapon is just plain underwhelming. If hammer points were still in the game, we would see the C tier disappear entirely, but we're not sure those are going to be returning anytime soon. With so many solid changes in Season 9, the usable weapon pool is larger than it's ever been before. Understanding how the weapons you use will handle different situations is going to be the key to utilizing them to their maximum potential. Now, if you saw one of your favorite weapons on the lower end of the list, just understand, like we said, the usable weapon pool includes almost every single weapon. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.